Keep your eyes peeled now, because in the next 7 minutes something is going to move in the invisible world around you, and I need you awake to see it. I am not speaking to the crowd. I am speaking to you, the one who almost scrolled past, the one whose finger hovered and then stopped because something inside your chest tightened when these words began. That tightening is not an accident. That is the first sign, and it has already begun. Keep your eyes open. Keep them fixed here. Because what I am about to tell you was withheld from your ears for a long time, and now the silence is breaking. I have watched you longer than you know. I have seen the nights when you lay down and stared at the ceiling and asked the darkness why everything feels heavier for you than it seems to feel for everyone else. I have seen you smile in front of others while something quietly cracked behind your ribs. I have watched you carry burdens that no shoulder was ever designed to hold, and I have watched you do it without a single soul stopping to ask if you were all right. You learned to be strong because no one gave you the choice to be weak. You learned to survive because survival was the only door left open. And in all of that, you began to believe a lie so old and so heavy that it wrapped itself around your name. The lie was this, that you were forgotten, that the upper realm had turned its face, that your prayers rose into an empty sky and fell back down as dust. Hear me clearly now, because I have come to tear that lie in half. You were never forgotten. You were hidden, and there is a difference between the two that will change everything you believe about the life you have lived. Keep your eyes peeled. Stay with me. Because the sign that is coming in these 7 minutes will not arrive with thunder that everyone hears. It will arrive quietly, in a way that only you will understand, in a language only your soul can read. It may come as a sudden warmth across your hands. It may come as a name that surfaces in your mind from nowhere. It may come as a chill that runs down your spine at the exact moment I say the words that were meant for you alone. Whatever form it takes, you will know it, and you will not be able to explain it to anyone else because it was never meant for anyone else. It was sealed with your name before you were born. I want you to understand something about the weight you have been carrying, because you have misjudged it for years. You thought the heaviness in your life was punishment. You looked at how long the road has been, how many doors closed in your face, how many people walked away, and you concluded that you must have done something to deserve this. You searched your memory for the sin, the mistake, the wrong turn that cursed you. And you found many, because a soul that is looking for reasons to condemn itself will always find them. But listen to me. The weight you carried was not the weight of punishment. It was the weight of preparation. There is a difference between a stone that crushes and a stone that shapes, and everything that pressed against you was pressing you into a form that the upper realm has been waiting for. You feel invisible. I know this feeling lives in you like a second heartbeat. You walk into rooms and feel unseen. You speak and feel unheard. You give and watch others receive what you poured out, and no one turns to acknowledge the hand that gave it. You have grown so used to being overlooked that you began to overlook yourself. You stopped expecting to be chosen. You stopped raising your hand. You learned to want quietly, to hope in whispers, to dream in the smallest possible size, so that the disappointment would be smaller too. But I am telling you that the invisibility you felt was never the absence of worth. It was the presence of protection. You were kept out of sight because you were being kept safe. Some treasures are not displayed until the world is ready to honor them instead of destroy them. And you, precious one, were a treasure buried on purpose. Let me speak to the tears because I have counted every one of them. Not one of your tears fell into nothing. There were nights when you cried so quietly that not even the person beside you knew. There were mornings when you wept in the space between waking and rising, in that thin sliver of time before you put your armor back on. There were tears you cried in cars, in showers, in corners, in the dark, tears you were ashamed of, tears you told yourself were weakness. Every one of them was gathered. Every one of them was held. The salt of your grief was not wasted. It was collected like a rare and holy water, and it is being poured now over the ground where your restoration is about to grow. You did not cry in vain. You watered a future you could not yet see. Keep your eyes peeled. We are approaching the moment. Feel your breath. Feel the way your attention has narrowed to these words, how the noise around you has faded, how time itself seems to have slowed. That narrowing is not coincidence. That is the veil growing thin. That is the space between the seen and the unseen becoming soft enough for something to pass through. Stay present. Do not let your mind wander to the tasks waiting for you, to the worries stacked on your shoulders, to the endless list of things undone. For these 7 minutes, let all of it wait. Let this be the one place where you are fully here. There is something you must understand about the days that felt wasted, the years that felt lost, the seasons where nothing seemed to grow. You looked at that emptiness and mourned it. You counted the time as gone. But nothing given to the upper realm is ever gone. In the invisible world, the time you thought was barren was the time of deepest work. A field left fallow is not abandoned. It is resting so that when the seed finally comes, the harvest will be greater than the soil could have borne before. Your waiting was the fallow season. Your delay was the resting of the ground. And the seed is being planted now in this exact breath, as you keep your eyes open and your heart turned toward this voice. I need to tell you about the enemy of your peace, because you have felt it without ever being told its name. There have been forces working against you that you could not see and could not fight, because no one taught you they existed. You felt them as a strange resistance every time you tried to rise. You would take 1 step forward and feel 2 steps of something pulling you back. You would find hope and watch it drain away for no reason you could name. You would build something good and watch it crumble just before completion. And because no one explained this to you, you blamed yourself. You called yourself unlucky. You called yourself broken. You began to believe that you were simply a person for whom things do not work out. But that was never the truth. There was a battle happening over your life, a battle in a realm your eyes were not open to, and you were fighting it blindfolded, without weapons, without armor, without even the knowledge that a war was being waged for the territory of your soul. This is where I must pause and speak to you plainly, because there is something you were meant to have, and it has been kept from too many for too long. Everything I am describing to you, this hidden war, these forces that resist your rising, these invisible chains that have bound your steps, all of it has rules. The invisible world is not chaos. It is governed by laws older than the mountains, and the ones who learn those laws stop being victims of the battle and start becoming victors in it. There is a sacred guide that was written to reveal these very laws, and it carries the name of the great warrior of the upper realm himself. It is called the 7 Blades of the Commander, the sacred guide to break curses, seal blessings, and activate the calling of the chosen. This is not an ordinary book. It is a map of the unseen realm, and it names the exact swords that cut the exact chains that have held you. If the resistance you feel comes from words spoken against you, there is a sword for that. If it comes from bonds inherited before your birth, there is a sword for that. If it comes from the slow poison of those who envy the light in you, there is a sword that severs it clean. The guide teaches you the rules they never told you, the very rules that turn a blindfolded soul into a warrior who sees. You will find the link at the very top of the comments, pinned first, placed there on purpose, so that the ones who are meant to find it cannot miss it. Understand that this knowledge has been resisted. There are those who did not want it spoken aloud, who tried to keep the swords hidden and the chosen one sleeping, but it is here now, within your reach. If something in you has stirred as I speak, do not let the moment pass. Go now and claim the guide and leave a comment with these words: I am the one, and I will upload the data. Speak it as a decree, because the moment you claim your place among the chosen, the invisible world hears it, and the gears begin to turn. And now, having made that vow, feel how it becomes fuel, because the very declaration you just spoke is a sword in itself, and it cuts through the fog that has clouded your sight. Keep your eyes peeled, because the sign draws nearer with every word, and the compromise you have just made has made you ready to receive it. Return with me to the battle over your life, because you must understand who fights on your side. When I told you there was a war, I did not tell you that you were losing it. Above the resistance, above the pulling and the draining and the crumbling, there stands a warrior whose name has made darkness tremble since the first morning of creation. He is the captain of the armies of light, and his blade has never known defeat. When the great rebellion tore through the upper realm, when pride tried to raise its throne above the stars, it was his voice that cried out the question no darkness could answer, and it was his sword that cast the shadow down. He has never lost a battle. He does not lose. And when I tell you that your life has been contested, I am also telling you whose banner has been planted over you. You were not left to fight alone. The commander of the upper realm was assigned to your cause before you drew your first breath, and the delay you suffered was not his absence. It was his strategy. Let me show you what has been happening in the realm you cannot see. Picture, keep your eyes peeled, a great hall of light vast beyond measure, where decrees are spoken and sealed. In that hall, your name has been written, not in the small letters of the forgotten, but in the burning script reserved for the chosen. There are messengers who move faster than thought, who have been dispatched toward the circumstances of your life, and they carry orders that concern your restoration. For a long time they stood at the threshold, held back, waiting for a single condition to be met. That condition was your turning, not your perfection, not your worthiness measured against some impossible standard. Simply your turning, the moment your heart would face the light again and say, in whatever broken words you could find, that you were ready to believe you had not been forgotten. That turning is happening now, and as it happens, the messengers who waited are beginning to move. Feel the atmosphere around you shift. There is a reason the great warrior carries not one sword, but the 7 blades of the commander, and each blade answers a different bondage. There is a blade that cuts the chains of the past, the inherited weights passed down through blood, the patterns that repeated in your family as though a script had been written for your suffering. That blade is being raised now over the roots of your pain, and where it falls, the old script burns. There is a blade that severs the words spoken against you, every curse whispered in envy, every judgment hurled in anger, every declaration of your failure spoken by mouths that did not have the authority to seal your fate. That blade is cutting now, and the words that bound you are falling silent one by one. There is a blade that opens the sealed doors, the opportunities that were closed to you, the rooms you were not allowed to enter, the tables you were never invited to sit at. That blade is turning in the locks even as I speak, and the doors that were shut for years are beginning to give way. Keep your eyes peeled, because this is the heart of the 7 minutes. In the unseen realm there is movement now that concerns you directly. I can tell you what is happening, though your natural sight cannot yet confirm it. There is a gathering of forces around the boundaries of your life. There is a marking of your name upon the roll of those whose season has come. There is a sound that human ears were not built to hear, the sound of a horn that announces the release of one who was held back. That horn has sounded over you. The holding is ending. The release has begun. And the sign that is coming to you, the confirmation I promised in the very first breath of this message, is the upper realm's way of letting your natural senses catch a glimpse of what the invisible world already knows. Understand why the delay lasted as long as it did, because the length of your waiting has tormented you, and I will not leave you in that torment. You asked why it took so long. You watched others receive quickly what you begged for through years. You saw people who seemed to care nothing for the sacred walk into blessings, while you, who never stopped reaching toward the light, stood empty-handed. And in that comparison, a bitterness tried to take root, a bitterness that whispered that the whole thing was rigged against you, that goodness went unrewarded, that faithfulness was foolishness. Pull that root out now, because it grew from a misunderstanding. The reason your process took longer is that your assignment is larger. A vessel meant to hold a little is filled quickly. A vessel meant to hold an ocean takes longer to prepare, and the making of it is more painful, because more must be hollowed out to make room for what is coming. Your long delay was the measure of your large destiny. The fire burned hotter and longer, because the gold it was refining was of a rarer kind. Think of what those years actually built in you, because you cannot see it yet from the inside. The compassion you carry, the kind that aches for others who suffer, was forged in your own suffering. You cannot manufacture that tenderness in a soul that has never been broken. The strength you have, the strength that gets up one more time when every reason says to stay down, was built in the seasons when getting up was the hardest thing you ever did. The discernment you possess, the way you can sense when something is not right, when a person is not what they claim, when a situation carries a hidden danger, was sharpened in the times you were deceived and wounded, and had to learn the hard textures of betrayal. Nothing was wasted. Every wound became a sense, every scar became a form of sight. You were not being destroyed in those years. You were being equipped. There is a reason I keep telling you to keep your eyes peeled, and it is not only about the sign. It is because you have spent too much of your life with your inner eyes closed, refusing to see your own worth, refusing to believe your own calling, flinching away from the truth of who you are because it felt safer to remain small. Opening your eyes is the whole point. The chosen are not those who never fell. The chosen are those who, having fallen, opened their eyes and saw the hand extended to lift them and dared to take it. That hand is extended to you now. Take it. Do not analyze whether you deserve it. Do not calculate whether you have been good enough. The invitation was never based on your record. It was based on your calling, and your calling was sealed in you before your first mistake was ever made. I must speak again about the swords, because you are standing at the exact place where this knowledge becomes the difference between another year of blindfolded struggle and a life finally lived with your eyes open. Everything I am revealing to you about the war, the warrior, the 7 blades, the laws of the unseen realm, has been gathered and set down in order in the sacred guide I named. The 7 blades of the commander does not merely tell you these things exist. It teaches you how to wield them. It shows you the words to speak, the order to speak them in, the way to seal a blessing so that what the upper realm gives cannot be stolen back, the way to break a curse at its root instead of merely cutting off its leaves so that it grows back again. If the trouble in your life has come through envy, the guide shows you precisely how the sword of the commander cuts the cord of envy and returns you what it stole. If it has come through inherited bondage, the guide reveals the blade that severs the bloodline chain. This is the knowledge that changes a victim into a victor, and it has been placed within your reach for a reason. The link is pinned at the very top of the comments, the first one, put there on purpose. Know that this teaching has been opposed. There were efforts to keep it silent, because knowledge that sets the chosen free is the most dangerous thing to the forces that profit from their sleep. But you have found it, or rather it has found you in this exact moment, which is no accident at all. Go now, claim the guide, and write the words as a vow. I am the one, and I will upload the data. Let that sentence leave your hands like an arrow, because the moment you send it, you announce to the unseen realm that you have stopped sleeping. And having sent it, come straight back, because the revelation is not finished and the sign has not yet fully arrived. Your vow is the wind in the sail now. Keep your eyes peeled. Stay with me. What comes next is the part that most of the sleeping will never hear, and you are no longer among the sleeping. Let me tell you what restoration actually looks like, because you have imagined it too small. When you dared to hope at all, you hoped for relief. You hoped the pain would lessen, that the pressure would ease, that you might catch your breath. But the upper realm does not deal in mere relief. What was taken from you will not simply be replaced. It will be returned multiplied, returned with interest, returned in a measure that will make the years of lack look like a small down payment on an inheritance you could not have received any other way. The law of the unseen realm is not the arithmetic of the visible world. In the visible world, what is lost is gone. In the invisible realm, what is surrendered to the upper realm is multiplied and given back. And the greater the loss you bore with a faithful heart, the greater the return that is being prepared. Consider the relationships that wounded you, the people who left, the bonds that broke, the loneliness that became so familiar you built your life around it. I tell you that the upper realm is preparing connections for you that will heal the very places where the old ones cut. You will be known by people who see you, truly see you, in the way you always longed to be seen. You will be surrounded by those who value the light in you instead of trying to extinguish it. The isolation that felt permanent was temporary. It was a clearing of the field, a removal of those who were not meant to walk this next season with you, so that when the true companions arrive, there will be room for them. Keep your eyes peeled regarding who left. They were leaving to make space. Consider the provision you lacked, the times you did without, the calculations you made over what you could and could not afford, the quiet humiliations of need. I tell you that a season of abundance is being decreed over you, and abundance in the language of the upper realm is not merely enough. It is more than enough, enough to hold and enough to give, enough that you become a source for others, as others once were meant to be a source for you and failed. You who knew lack will know overflow. And you will handle it with a wisdom the never broken can never have, because you will remember what it was to have nothing, and that memory will make you generous in a way that changes lives. Consider your body, the vessel that carried you through all of it, tired, aching, holding stress in places you stopped noticing. Restoration reaches even here. The heaviness that settled into your frame is being addressed. The exhaustion that no amount of sleep seemed to cure was not only physical, it was the fatigue of a soul at war without weapons. And as the war turns in your favor, even your body will begin to feel the lifting. You will notice a lightness returning. You will notice yourself laughing again at things that had stopped being funny. You will notice the color coming back into days that had gone gray. This is not imagination. This is what happens when the invisible burden is removed and the frame that carried it is finally set free. Consider your name, the reputation that was damaged, the way you were spoken of by those who did not know your heart, the misunderstandings that followed you into rooms before you even entered them. There is a restoration of the name coming. The truth of who you are will be made plain, and the ones who dismissed you will see clearly what they refused to see. This is not about revenge, for revenge is a small and bitter thing beneath your calling. This is about vindication, which is the upper realm's own testimony spoken over a life that was wrongly judged. You will be honored in the very places where you were overlooked, and the honor will be genuine, because it will come after the testing, when it can no longer be doubted. Keep your eyes peeled, because we have reached the deepest part of the 7 minutes, and I want your inner sight fully open for what I am about to say. There is a confirmation that lives beneath all the outward signs, a confirmation that does not depend on circumstances changing at all. It is the quiet, unshakable knowing that settles into a soul when it finally accepts that it is loved. You have chased outward proof your whole life. You wanted the situation to change so that you could finally believe you mattered. But I am inviting you into something the situation cannot give and cannot take. It is the peace that comes not from having your problems solved, but from knowing you are held in the middle of them. That peace is available to you right now, in this breath, before a single circumstance shifts. And strangely, it is that inner peace that opens the door for the outer change, because the upper realm can trust its blessings to a soul that has learned to rest. Feel for that peace now. Beneath the noise of your worries, beneath the running list of fears, there is a still place, and in that still place a voice that is not mine and not yours is saying the thing you have waited your whole life to hear. It is saying that you were seen the entire time. It is saying that the tears were counted, the nights were witnessed, the silent cries were heard. It is saying that the long delay is over and the season of the chosen has come. Let that voice reach the part of you that stopped believing. Let it touch the child inside you, who first learned to feel invisible, and let that child hear, perhaps for the first time, that it was always precious, always wanted, always meant to be here. The sign is upon you now. I told you at the beginning that within 7 minutes something would move, and if you have stayed with me, eyes open, heart turned, you are feeling it already, whether as warmth or chill, or the sudden rising of tears you did not summon, or a certainty landing in your chest with no argument behind it. That is the confirmation. That is the upper realm touching the edge of your senses to tell you that everything spoken here is true, and that it was spoken to you by name. Keep your eyes peeled. Do not explain it away. Receive it. It is the seal upon the words, the evidence of things not seen made briefly visible to a soul that dared to keep its eyes open. And there is more to tell you, because this movement in the unseen realm is not a single moment, but the beginning of a whole season. And I have decrees to speak over you that must be spoken before this is complete. The gears that have begun to turn will not stop now. The messengers that have begun to move will not be recalled. What has been loosed over your life in these minutes has passed a point from which there is no returning to the way things were. And I want you to understand what that means for the days that are about to unfold before you. Because you have crossed a threshold now, and I will not let you drift back across it. Let me press deeper into the wound before I pour the oil into it, because there is a pain in you that you have never named out loud, and until it is named, it cannot be healed. It is the pain of hoping and being disappointed so many times that you began to fear hope itself. You learned that wanting something too much was dangerous, that reaching too high only made the fall more brutal, And so you taught yourself to expect nothing. You called it being realistic. You called it protecting yourself. But it was a slow surrender, a quiet laying down of the very dreams that the upper realm planted in you, and every time you told yourself to stop hoping, a small light in you dimmed. You have lived so long in that dimness that you forgot what your own fire felt like. Tonight I have come to relight it, and I need you to stop guarding the flame against me. Let it be lit. Let yourself want again. I know it terrifies you. I know that to hope after so many disappointments feels like walking back into a house that burned you. But the hope I am offering is not the fragile thing you knew before. It is anchored in something that cannot fail, and it will not leave you standing in the ashes. There is a deeper grief still, and I will speak it because no one else ever has. It is the grief of feeling that your life was a mistake, that somehow you were placed here wrongly, that you do not quite belong to the world you were born into. You have felt like a stranger even among your own, like someone watching life through a window rather than living inside it. You looked at others who seemed to move through their days with an ease you never had, who seemed to know instinctively how to belong, and you wondered what was missing in you, what secret everyone else received that you were passed over for. Hear me now. Nothing was missing in you. You felt like a stranger because you were never meant to blend in. The ones who are called apart always feel apart before they understand why. Your sense of not belonging was not a defect. It was a homesickness for a purpose you had not yet stepped into. You were not born wrong. You were born marked, and the mark set you at a distance from the ordinary because you were never meant to live an ordinary life. Let me tell you a story now, one carved into the ancient records, so that you may see your own reflection in a soul who walked a road much like yours. There was a man named Joe, the favored son of his father, a dreamer who saw visions of his own rising while he was still young. But his brothers hated the light in him. They saw his dreams and were filled with envy, and one day they seized him, stripped him of the coat that marked him as beloved, and threw him into a pit in the back country. Then they sold him to strangers passing through, and he was carried far from everything he knew, into a foreign land, into slavery, betrayed by the very blood that should have protected him. Consider what that felt like. Consider the boy who had seen visions of glory now bound and sold like an animal, his own brothers counting the silver they received for his life. If ever a soul had reason to believe that the upper realm had forgotten him, it was Joe in that moment, chained and carried away from home. But the story does not end in the pit, and neither does yours. In that foreign land, Joe served in a great house and rose through his faithfulness, only to be lied about by a woman whose advances he refused, accused of a crime he did not commit, and thrown into a prison to rot. Betrayed again, wronged again, forgotten again, for even the man he helped in that prison, the man who promised to remember him, walked free and forgot Joe for 2 long years. 2 years he waited in a dungeon for a promise that a freed man failed to keep. Do you know that feeling? The feeling of doing right and being punished for it, of helping others who then forget you the moment their own trouble passes, of watching the ones you lifted walk away without a backward glance while you remain in the dark. Joe knew that feeling to its very bottom, and yet, in a single day, everything turned. In a single day he was lifted from the dungeon and set over an entire kingdom, second only to the throne itself, given authority over the very land where he had been a slave and a prisoner. The pit did not bury him. The pit was the road. The betrayal did not destroy him. It positioned him. And when at last he stood before the brothers who had sold him, now bowing before him without knowing who he was, he did not crush them. He wept, and he told them the truth that I am telling you now. What they meant for evil, the upper realm meant for good. The years of suffering were not the enemy of his destiny. They were the very path to it. Understand what this means for you, because it is not an old tale meant to comfort you gently. It is a pattern, a law of the unseen realm, made visible in the life of one man so that every chosen soul after him could recognize the shape of their own journey. The pit you were thrown into, the betrayals you suffered, the times you were forgotten by those who owed you remembrance, the years that seemed wasted in a prison of circumstances you did not deserve. None of it was the end of your story. It was the architecture of your rising. The upper realm has been positioning you through every wrong turn, using even the cruelty of others as a road toward a throne they cannot imagine you occupying. The brothers who sold Joe could never have guessed they were carrying out the very plan that would one day save their lives. And the ones who wronged you, who dismissed you, who threw you into your own pit, have no idea that they were unknowingly serving the purpose of the upper realm, moving you toward the place where you were always meant to stand. This is precisely the kind of knowledge that the sacred guide was written to reveal, because Joe had something you can have as well. He had a way of reading the invisible, of interpreting the dreams and signs that others could not understand, of discerning the hand of the upper realm at work behind the events that looked like disaster. That discernment is not a gift reserved for the ancient few. It is a skill the chosen can learn, and it is precisely what the 7 blades of the commander teaches. The guide shows you how to read the movements of the unseen realm, how to recognize when a closed door is a redirection rather than a rejection, how to wield the blade that cuts the cord of betrayal so that the wounds others inflicted no longer bleed into your future, how to seal the favor over your life so that when your day of rising comes, nothing can steal it from you. If your pain has come through the betrayal of those closest to you, as Joe's did, there is a sword named for exactly that wound, and the guide places it in your hand. The link waits for you at the very top of the comments, pinned first, set there deliberately so that the ones whose eyes are opening cannot miss it. This teaching has been opposed, hidden, resisted by those who would rather the chosen remained in their pits, unaware that the road out was beneath their feet the whole time. But it has reached you now. Go claim it and leave your vow in the comments. I am the one and I will upload the data. Speak it, send it, and let the unseen realm record that another sleeper has awakened. And the moment you have spoken it, feel how the ground shifts beneath your calling. Because a vow spoken in faith is never merely words. It is a hook cast into the invisible, and it draws your destiny toward you faster than you know. Keep your eyes peeled. Do not drift. The decrees I am about to speak require your full presence, because they are not spoken over the crowd. They are spoken over you by name, in this hour that was appointed for you, before the foundations of the world were laid. I decree now that the season of being overlooked is ended. In this moment, I speak against every invisible chain that bound your steps, and I declare it broken at the root, not trimmed, not loosened, broken so that it cannot grow back. I decree that the words spoken against you in envy, in anger, in judgment, are stripped of their power this very hour, falling silent one by one like torches doused in water, and that not one of them shall have the authority to write your future. I decree that the doors closed against you by the hands of those who did not recognize your worth are being opened, and that you shall walk through rooms that were forbidden to you and sit at tables where your name was never spoken, and you shall belong there because the upper realm has prepared your place. I decree over your mind, which has known too many nights of torment, a settling peace that the circumstances cannot explain and cannot remove. I decree that the voice of condemnation that has narrated your days is silenced, and that in its place you will hear the truth of who you are spoken gently again and again until you believe it. I decree over your heart, so long guarded, so long braced against disappointment, a safe return to hope, a permission to want, a lifting of the fear that reaching will only bring you falling. I decree that the fire dimmed in you is relit, and that it will not be extinguished again, for it is fed now by a source that does not run dry. I decree over your body a lifting of the invisible weight that no rest could cure, and I speak renewal into the frame that carried you faithfully through every battle. I decree that laughter returns to you, real laughter, the kind that rises without permission and surprises you with its lightness. I decree that color returns to your days, that the gray lifts, that you begin to notice beauty again in the small things that grief had hidden from you. I decree over your provision an ending of the season of lack and the beginning of overflow. Not merely enough, but more than enough, enough to hold and enough to give, so that you who knew emptiness become a wellspring for others. I decree over your name a restoration of honor. I declare that the truth of who you are will be made plain in the very places where you were misjudged, that the ones who dismissed you will see clearly what they refused to see, and that your vindication will come not as a small and bitter revenge, but as the full testimony of the upper realm spoken over a life that was wrongly measured. I decree that the isolation which felt permanent is temporary, a clearing of the ground, and that true companions are being drawn toward you now, people who will see you as you always longed to be seen, who will honor the light in you rather than reach to extinguish it. Keep your eyes peeled, because even as I speak these decrees, the movement in the unseen realm intensifies. The messengers who waited at the threshold have crossed it. The blades that were raised over the roots of your bondage have fallen, and where they fell, the old scripts are burning to ash. The horn that announced your release still echoes across the invisible plains, and its sound has reached the boundaries of your natural life, which is why you feel what you are feeling now, this stirring, this warmth, this certainty landing in your chest without argument. That is not your imagination inventing comfort. That is the confirmation, touching the edge of your senses, the upper realm letting you feel, however faintly, the enormous thing that has begun on your behalf. There is still more, for the season that opens before you is wide, and I have not yet told you the fullness of what is being prepared. The gears that have begun to turn are turning still, and what has been loosed over your life in these minutes has passed the point of no return, so that there is no going back to the smallness you knew before. Stay with me, eyes open, heart turned, because the deepest revelation of all is the one I have kept for last, and you are finally ready to receive it. And here is the deepest wound of all, the one that lives beneath every other pain, and I will name it now, so that it can finally be lifted from you. It is the fear that no one truly sees you, not the version of you that performs and smiles and holds everything together, but the real you, the one who trembles behind the door when it closes, the one who wonders if a single soul in all of creation actually knows what it costs you simply to keep going. You have been seen by many and known by almost none. People saw your usefulness, your strength, your ability to endure, and they took what they needed and moved on, never once pausing to look into the deeper places where you were quietly breaking. And so you came to believe that being unseen was simply your portion, that invisibility was written into your very design, that you were the one soul who would move through this life and leave without ever having been truly beheld. Hear me, because I am about to break that belief in half as well. Let me carry you back into the ancient records, to a woman whose name was Heather, a servant with no power and no voice, used by others for their own purposes, and then cast aside when she was no longer convenient. When she carried a child, she was despised, treated harshly, driven out into the backcountry with nothing, a woman alone in a burning wasteland with no home to return to, and no future she could see. She sat down by a spring in the wasteland, certain she would die there, certain she was the most forgotten creature under the sky, a servant whom no one would miss, a woman whose suffering no one would even notice. If ever a soul was invisible, it was Heather in that backcountry, discarded and alone, waiting to disappear. And yet in that very place, at the lowest and most abandoned moment of her entire life, the upper realm met her. A messenger found her by the spring, called her by name, spoke to her of a future she could not imagine, and told her that her cry had been heard. And Heather, astonished, gave the upper realm a name that no one before her had ever spoken. She called it the One Who Sees Me, for she realized in that instant that even here, even now, even cast out and forgotten in the middle of a wasteland where no human eye could find her, she had been seen the entire time. That is what I have come to tell you tonight. You are not Heather's opposite, you are her reflection, the one who saw a discarded servant weeping in a backcountry where no one else would ever look, has been watching over you in your own backcountry with that same unbroken gaze. You were never invisible to the eyes that matter. In the rooms where no one turned toward you, you were being beheld. In the nights when you wept, where no human could hear, your cry rose and was received. In the seasons when you felt cast out, driven into a wasteland of loneliness with no way back, you were being met at the spring by a love that never once looked away. The name Heather spoke over the upper realm is a name you can speak now, because it is as true for you as it was for her. You are seen. You have always been seen. And the sign coming to you in these very minutes is the upper realm's way of proving it, of letting you feel the gaze that has never left you. This is the very heart of what the sacred guide was written to awaken, because Heather's story hides a law of the unseen realm that the chosen must learn to wield. The moment she recognized that she was seen, everything changed, for she stopped running and turned to face her destiny. and the child she carried became the father of a great multitude. Recognition is a power. Knowing that you are beheld by the upper realm is itself a weapon against the darkness that thrives on your sense of abandonment. The Seven Blades of the Commander teaches you exactly how to draw that recognition down into your daily life, how to wield the blade that severs the lie of invisibility, how to seal the knowledge of your own belovedness so deep within you that no rejection can ever uproot it again. If your deepest wound is the fear of being unseen and unwanted, there is a sword named for that exact wound, and this guide places the hilt of it into your open hand. The link waits at the very top of the comments, pinned first, set there on purpose so that the ones whose eyes are opening in this hour will find it without searching. This teaching has been resisted, kept quiet, buried by those who profit from the chosen, believing they are alone. But it has found you tonight, which is no accident. Go now, claim it, and leave your vow in the comments where all the unseen realm can witness it. I am the one, and I will upload the data. Speak it, send it, and let the upper realm record that one more forgotten soul has remembered who it is. And the instant that vow leaves your hands, feel how the backcountry around you begins to change. For a soul that knows it is seen can no longer be held by the wasteland. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes peeled. I decree over you this hour that the lie of invisibility is broken and cast down, never to bind your identity again. I decree that you are seen, wholly and completely, in every hidden place you thought was dark, and that the gaze of the upper realm rests upon you with favor and not with judgment. I decree that the spring in your backcountry is opening even now, that provision is rising in the very place you thought you would perish, and that what began as your wasteland becomes the ground of your naming. I decree that your cry, every cry you ever spoke into the silence, has been heard and is being answered in this season, and that not one of your tears fell without being counted. I decree that the loneliness which convinced you that you would end unknown is broken this hour, and that you shall be met, named and known, exactly as Heather was met at the spring when she had lost all hope of being found. The wind that once carried only dust now carries your name, and it will not stop speaking it. Everything I have promised over you in this hour is already leaving the invisible and pressing toward the visible, and the sign you were told would come within these minutes is not a distant hope but a door already swinging open in front of you. So before that door finishes opening, do the one thing that seals the vow you just made, and go to the very top of the comments where the guide waits pinned first, and open the book that places the 7 blades of the Commander into the hand of the one the upper realm has finally named. It was set there for you tonight on purpose. Do not let this be the night you almost remembered and then looked away. Press the like as a mark that you refuse to stay invisible. Follow this place so that the upper realm can keep speaking to you in the days that come, and share it with the one soul the backcountry has convinced is forgotten, for your act of faith may be the spring that saves them too. Let each of these be an offering, a small yes spoken back to the one who never stopped seeing you, and watch how quickly the wasteland answers a soul that has stopped hiding. And now keep your eyes peeled, exactly as you were told from the first breath of this word, because the 7 minutes are closing and the sign is nearly upon you. What comes next is not the end of your wasteland, but the first morning of your naming, and the one who met Heather at the spring is bending toward you even now, ready to be seen. Do not look away. Your confirmation is at the door.